Ever wondered what a Viking version of Hamlet would be like? Well, now you don't have to, because we have a visually stunning tale of revenge, and our protagonist has abs and traps for days. These aren't the hipsters that make your coffee, these are toxic masculine Vikings in The Northman. Hello there, you loose units, and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Boy Reviews. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew Iles. Yes, The Northman, directed by Robert Eggers, who actually looks like a bit of a Viking himself, to be honest with you, but we know him from his previous work of directing The Witch and The Lighthouse, and this is completing his That trilogy with The Northman. Doesn't take a genius to work out the plot of this film if you've seen the trailer, but for those of sensitive folk out there, spoiler alert! The film sees an assassination of a Danish king by his brother, and taking the queen as his own bride as the prince escapes away and swears revenge on his uncle one day. Now, if you think this plot sounds very familiar, you'd be bloody right. It's a tale as old as time, but it is one that works. Thanks, shackers. The prince himself, our protagonist here, grows up and becomes a warrior in his own right, pillaging villages with a bunch of mud-covered crossfitters. Because you know what they say, village got a pillage, Viking got a Viking. Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of the women. Here our prince is all grown up, he's a full-blown man now, and he's played by one of 100 Skarsgård's kids who are running around in Hollywood here, Alexander. You know, Stellan, you can pull out every once in a while, mate. The prince literally embraces his spirit animal with his little gang of Vikings here. You know, taking on its form, becoming a full wildebeest of a cross between a wolf and a bear. You could almost say that he's a bear wolf. After the Viking crossfitters pillage the village and ransack it all, they round up all the healthy females and plan to sell them to a nearby village where our protagonist learns is ran by his uncle. This is where he meets Anya Taylor-Joy, who's taken time out of her busy schedule of filming her 400th project in 2022 here, and she's playing like a high-spirited, no-nonsense Danish girl with the spirit of a Valkyrie. No, not that fucking one. And this is where our protagonist disguises himself as a slave to get sold into this village, to insert himself in there, playing a bit of The Departed, playing funny buggers with his uncle's mini kingdom before he quenches his bloodthirst. Now he's on the road to revenge, a journey to justice, the take-back of payback. It's a pretty straightforward story of revenge, and like I said before, we've heard and seen it a million times before, but I believe Hamlet's not the original. This is actually loosely based on an old Northman folktale, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was Prince Amlet or whatever, which Shackers, good old Shakespeare, took inspiration from for Hamlet. So this is kind of a retelling of the original story. Alexander Skarsgård looks phenomenal here. He's really good. He's always captivating whenever he's on screen, because he's on screen pretty much 100% of the movie here. And he got jacked for this role. I mean, he has traps for days. What's this? A straight, strong, white male lead character? Cancel this film at once! Anya Taylor-Joy is awesome in this film. I mean, no wonder she's getting hired for a billion projects in Hollywood. She's reliable, she's captivating, like every word that comes out of her mouth, and yeah, she's really good. And of course, Aussie legend Nicole Kidman here pops up for a very layered performance with a few twists and turns and whatnot, and I don't think she's too far off from winning an Oscar in the near future. This movie feels exactly what it probably would have been like back in the Viking Age. You know, it's brutal, it's cold and damp. It may trigger some audiences, not gonna bloody lie. It's uber savage. And it's a wonder anyone actually survived this time period. I mean, no wonder 30 years old was considered elderly back then. The film, of course, looks stunning. I mean, look at the director and their previous work. I mean, of course it's going to be. And it kind of comes across as a bit of like an artsy version of Conan the Barbarian. But also the film looks very similar to another film directed by Nicholas Winding Refn called Valhalla Rising. It is a beautiful fever dream, surreal nightmare of hell on earth, creating a sense of unease and surrealism. You know, it's sort of very much like Robert Eggers' previous work, but also a bit of a vibe of other films like Mother and The Green Knight. If I had to really nitpick this film, I have to say I wish that the ending came a bit sooner. There was a couple of faux endings here, or you know, a bit of a tickle, a bit of cock teasers, if you will. And I thought, okay, well, it's time to wrap it up. But, oh no, okay, we keep going. That's the only real nitpick. But when we did get to the end, damn, it's awesome. And I know these are Vikings. These guys worshipped Odin and Thor. But this film is nothing like that Disney CGI Bukkake party. Nowadays, the Viking look is really in, with hipsters especially. You know, you got the haircuts and the beards and the tattoos and all that sort of stuff, and the jewelry. But I tell you what, these guys weren't serving your morning coffee back then, no siree. You'd be hard-pressed to find a gluten-free burger or a soy latte back then, boys. These guys are not nice guys. And that's the thing, the film doesn't shy away from the brutality of Vikings. Like, even our protagonist here does horrible things, but like, you're looking at it through modern eyes, yeah, like, it's going to be different. You're going to have to sort of have a suspension of disbelief, I guess, or just insert yourself into that time period, which was fucking brutal. And if you've ever watched the show like Vikings, the original show Vikings, or this movie, you can understand why Christians thought that these guys were like demons walking the earth. I don't want anyone to be triggered by this movie, so modern audiences, be warned. This film is not going to be for everybody. Again, it's very surreal, it's artsy, it's a slow burn, but if that's your jam, I think you're really gonna like this. I mean, this ain't Thor loving, gotta go and find myself for the 5th fucking time. But yeah, guys, that's The Northman. If you like Robert Eggers' previous films, you're gonna enjoy this. It's really good. But yeah, write down below if you're a Robert Eggers fan and which of his 3 films do you like. And of course, if you made it this far into the episode, please give me a thumbs up because your love and support keeps me going, because I just love movies and I assume you do as well. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe icon because we give out episodes weekly, and we'll see you back here next week for the next review. And until then, stay spooky, kids.